everyone. It's an honor for me to welcome our St. Andrews community to Commencement Week and tonight's award ceremony. We're still basking in the glow of last night's chapel, where we heard members of the class of 2021 reflect on their time and their experiences at the school. And I know I speak for faculty, staff, and all students at the school in thanking our seniors for representing their class so beautifully and for sharing their reflections about the school, about their values, about their journey in a beautiful way. So thank you all. So we are looking forward to Friday, and we're very much looking forward to welcoming parents and grandparents and siblings who tonight are watching these ceremonies on live stream. I think all of us who have been in St. Andrews before recognize everything about this beautiful space on awards night except for the presence of our families. And we know that our families this year have supported us, supported all of you, and are looking so forward to being with us on Friday morning, both for chapel and for commencement. And because their time here has been so short this year, we know that the time with our senior parents and guardians and families is going to be very emotional and very, very important. So commencement at St. Andrews is always an exploration of the very purpose and spirit of education. Our ceremonies seek to place St. Andrews' educational program and community into conversation with the most important and compelling challenges facing our nation and our world. Implicit in these conversations is a belief that education, at its best, proposes to prepare a new generation of students to contribute to, embrace responsibility for, and to heal the world. And as we gather tonight and on Friday, we're still coming to terms with the tumultuous experiences of the 2020-21 year. As we mark the tragic anniversary of the murder of George Floyd on Wednesday, we remember that the protests and the outrage and the rejection of racial violence, intolerance, and bigotry is the work of all of us as citizens. The era of pandemic has exposed virulent poison of racism that replicates itself over and over in our land. We join together as a community to reject hatred and intolerance once and for all. In the 2020-21 year, we learned how to live responsibly and generously and empathetically in a pandemic situation. We've accepted a circumscribed way of living designed to promote not only our safety and health, but the safety and health of our local communities and our state communities and our national and global communities. We've explored the meaning of common sacrifices in patience and empathy and compassion. We've recognized the inequities that made the experience of the pandemic so radically different, depending on one's socioeconomic status and ability to quarantine. Points made so powerfully by Gina last night. We've learned how to love unconditionally in a time of separation, physical distancing, fear, and anxiety. And we've learned that no matter what the protocol, the capacity for human love and human connection remains strong and inspirational. When we ultimately emerge as a world from the realms of this pandemic time, we will look to education and to students like the ones who attend St. Andrews, our students have had at St. Andrews, and particularly the experiences our students have had during the pandemic will ultimately inspire them to embrace the full potential of the following values: a reverence and respect and understanding of the interconnected world in which we live, We are a global community, and we are a human family, dependent upon cooperation and collaboration and communication designed ultimately to preserve all lives. We are a global community mourning and grieving for all who have been lost to the pandemic. And we are empathetic and generous in our support for all families who suffer and continue to suffer unbearable loss during this time. We have a new appreciation and understanding of the miracle and majesty of healthcare workers and doctors and nurses and first responders and essential workers who answer the call to service without hesitation every single day and night. All those who stood for all citizens every single day of the pandemic. We've developed a deep respect and celebration of the scientific method and its unceasing quest for ways of honoring and preserving human life. I think I told you at the beginning of the pandemic that when I asked the question about vaccinations to the wisest doctors and experts I could find, they said, forget about it, maybe in 5 years. St. Andrews held 2 vaccination clinics for our students within a year of that conversation. This has been a time where we have recognized the way the pandemic has ravaged Black and brown communities in our nation. And it's also a time for a national movement to support regeneration of education and housing and healthcare and opportunity for all in this country. We have witnessed expressions of unbearable intolerance and violence and hatred throughout America against Asian Americans and the Asian community. And we have recognized our collective responsibility to understand both the history of this bigotry and our responsibility to honor, protect, and celebrate dignity, human rights, and integrity. I am most proud that St. Andrews School refused to allow our mission and spirit to be expressed by ignoring the pandemic or minimizing the pandemic's magnitude and danger or neglecting the human lives at stake, both in this country and the world. We ultimately never focused narrowly on what we wanted selfishly for ourselves, even though that's how we were wired. We never fell, for very long anyway, into a culture of entitled complaint and lamentation. Ultimately, the success of this year is we discovered something that great writers and philosophers have always known, that it's in adversity and in suffering and in tragedy that we fully recognize what it means to be human, what it means to be compassionate, and what it means to be generous. We realized that tragedy required sacrifices and taught us how to live more loving and compassionate and empathetic lives. May the lessons and experiences of school, academics, the arts, community service, leadership, and athletics teach us that together we can participate in the healing and regeneration of the world. Now, the joy of this ceremony every year is hearing from members of the graduating class as they reflect on various aspects of the school. And we'll be hearing representatives of this fantastic class tonight. And then after those presentations, leaders of the faculty from various aspects of the school will be presenting awards to students whose performances and contributions to the school have been so distinguished. As you receive your awards, you may shake hands, you may hug, you may express joy and connection with teachers as we interact this evening. So I'm very, very excited first to move to consideration of our athletic program, and we're honored to have Elliot and JT speak to us first.
Good evening. I'm honored to be standing here today, sharing memories about one of my favorite parts of the St. Andrews experience. For my first day on campus, I was already looking forward to the spring sports season, when I would finally play lacrosse for my high school team next to my older sister Hannah. We played together for years, practicing after school, traveling to tournaments, and sharing strategies. We knew each other's strengths and motivated one another to always play our hardest. This was the first time, however, that I would have the chance to play by her side on the same team. And although she was definitely older and wiser, we had an unspoken connection, and we both knew we had each other's backs on and off the field. When the spring season finally arrived, I found myself nervous as I stepped onto the field the first day. I realized that I didn't know most of the girls on the team, and felt worried that as a freshman, I wouldn't be able to contribute to our success. However, when I fell on my face the first day of practice, the team laughed with me. During preseason, girls I had barely spoken to greeted me with a big smile and a wave, saying they'd see me at practice later that day. When the true season began, our team bonding continued. One of my fondest memories was cramming into Miss Khalifa's apartment to spend the night in sleeping bags, watching a Justin Bieber movie while playing Bamboozled and eating brownies. Throughout the season, I watched as we began to drop less and less balls in our drills, and our communication on the field became louder and clearer. Though I felt like I had barely known many of my teammates at the start of the season, I found myself confidently making riskier passes and trusting the people behind the goal would be ready to back up my missed shots. But this trust grew between us as the season progressed, and it allowed me to develop close relationships with my teammates. At the same time, I picked up my teammates' little habits that I hadn't noticed before, like how someone carries their stick differently when they're tired, and how their whole demeanor changes when they decide they're going to get a ground ball. Through playing together, we learn about what each other's personalities are on and off of the field. To me, these moments encapsulate why sports are so special at St. Andrews. As Daw first taught me during field hockey season my freshman year, St. Andrews athletics are unique from other schools because we live together, we eat together, we breathe together. The team chemistry is unmatched because we spend so much time on and off of the field with one another. These interactions off of the field, in the hallway, the dining hall, on dorm, or in the dance, are really what bring us together and allow us to ultimately trust one another on the field. At the same time, it's these little connections on the field that allow us to further strengthen our friendships and connections off of the field. Though at St. Andrews, I often hear it said that we create our closest friendships talking on the front lawn or on dorm. For me, I have found that sports have allowed me to develop friendships with girls who I don't normally cross paths with, in a way that has fostered some of my closest friendships. It's in this nonverbal communication, the glint in someone's eye or their demeanor, that we were able to create the strongest bonds. Now looking back at the start of my freshman year, I remember my desire from the first day of school to join my sister on the lacrosse field. I hoped that by getting to play with her, I would have one person who I knew I could trust and work well with on the field. However, never could have anticipated after 4 years the larger family of sisters who I ended up walking away with. Thank you.
If you had told my freshman year self that I'd be speaking at a work about athletics, it would have thrown me for quite a loop. So, coming to St. Andrews as a scrawny third former, without even the famous signs of any athletic talent, I chose soccer for a fall sport, having effectively no experience or interest in the sport. I went into the week of tryouts with very little athleticism and even less drive, which quickly earned me a spot on the third team. As the season got underway, I found that most of my time was spent on the bench, a result of a combination of my unimpressive skills and even more unimpressive game day mentality. Soccer, as my parents were quick to point out, was not my calling. Fall turned into winter, and I decided to try my hand at squash, which I had played before. This made the humiliation of being moved from JV to third squad midway through the season all the more biting. My failures during the fall and winter months were due to the delusion that I was magically going to get better at the sport without trying or taking any time to practice outside of practice. I hoped that the spring rowing season would be more successful. I went into the season thinking I was hot stuff after rowing a bit informally over my middle school years. I thought this would give me a huge leg up on the almost exclusively novice rowers in my class. Dave Myers, the coach of the freshman boats, did a great job of quickly dispelling my feelings of superiority within the first week of practice. My technique, it turned out, like everyone else's freshman year, was god-awful. And arguably still is. Every practice was more difficult than anything I'd ever experienced. I was out of my depth. Will Porter and the crew coaches were constantly pushing the team to their limit. It was here that I found a connection between grit in practice and payout on the race course. We could track our athletic growth week to week at races, and this sort of shared commitment to improving over the course of the season was intoxicating to me. We became closer friends and better athletes in sharing these difficult practices. The next year, having little interest in playing soccer again, I decided to try my hand at running. Even though I was a latecomer, the seniors and the rest of the team welcomed me with open arms. Similar to rowing, this was a positive, inclusive space where the effort you put in could be exactly mapped to your performance in the races. I improved significantly over the course of the season, and I attributed this to a great group of senior leaders and an exceptional team of people equally committed to the team's success, regardless of race results. These are the sports I feel passionate about because they are the teams of committed individuals of every skill level mingling at practice. For example, when rowing, the whole team gathered at the boathouse to stretch before practice. Mixed boat lineups all serve to deepen the feeling of mutual commitment across boats. Will Porter, giving his best effort to break down his athlete's bodies into a pulp, gives individuals a chance to rebuild themselves into a team committed to each other and their success. In suffering, improving, and competing together, St. Andrews student athletes form bonds and build a culture that simply cannot be replicated anywhere else. What makes up much of the bedrock of the St. Andrews athletic program is not the super talented few who are the standout players from the outset, although those are important, but those who come to practice and give 100% of their effort regardless of their ability. In having the opportunity to experiment and eventually find my true athletic areas of passion, the St. Andrews athletic program became the biggest driver of my growth as a friend, teammate, and St. Andrean. And for that, I will be forever grateful. Thank you.
I typically present the All-State Awards, however, a lot of those meetings are taking place next week, so I can't do that this evening. But I would just like to congratulate every athlete in this room. You guys did incredible things this spring. Between the testing and the masking, we asked a lot of you guys, and it was amazing what you accomplished, so I just want to really congratulate you.
Heidi Pierce and Al Wood for their incredible work this spring, for all of the details that were involved in developing athletic schedules, transportation, and communication with public and private schools throughout the area. They did an amazing job, and the seasons ran so smoothly, largely because of their efforts, their leadership, their ability to work so carefully with private and public schools across the state. So we thank them. I loved having our weekend over 2 weekends. It was a wonderful opportunity to be able to savor all the different expressions of the arts program, to see the arts faculty working so beautifully with our students, and obviously to celebrate the class of 2021 that has made such distinguished contributions to the arts during their career here. And we're very happy that Nicholas is going to share some thoughts about the arts at St. Andrews.
So actually, I'll start by first saying that this is the bow tie I wore for my very first St. Andrews production. So it's a nice little full circle moment. Every way magical, my time at St. Andrews is defined by my experiences in the arts. Whether the magical energy in the dressing rooms leading up to a performance, coming up with an idea, perfect sketch, or simply marveling at the endless creativity that seems to flow in this community. My most treasured memories invariably have something to do with the arts. My first moments I wanted to quit. I felt so close to it. It happened in the arts, but so too my moments of greatest joy and growth. Most importantly, the deepest connections I've made happened because of my involvements in the arts. You know what? I just happen to love the arts. If you haven't figured it out already, my involvement in St. Andrews Athletics is fairly limited. Let's be real for a second. These arms have never seen weight room, and if you ever noticed me on the trails doing anything more than strolling casually, well, must not have been me. In fact, today was a true testament to this when I finally decided to cross off a bucket list item and walk around the pond. Accompanied by members of the varsity crew and lacrosse teams, me, the sole member of varsity theater, limped along, about to drop dead under the blistering sun and 90-degree heat. On the verge of collapsing, the sight of Miss Crane's house brought tears to my eyes as we planned to rest and refill our water bottles, and then keep moving. Instead, what followed was the most beautiful random act of kindness, warmth, and generosity. Miss Crane emerged with drinks, snacks, and an ice cream sundae bar, throwing us an impromptu party and turning the hours of pain into a wonderful memory. Because that just wasn't enough, she gifted us each with one of her phenomenal corn bags. Even in my athletic endeavors, the arts are always looking out for me. So now that we have figured that out, how exactly did I become the guy that does a lot of theater? I arrived at St. Andrews as a terrified little 10th grader, more unsure of myself than I think I've ever been. My very first morning classes, confused, already physically and emotionally exhausted, and having taken several wrong turns, I found myself standing at the doors of the acting studio, that little room right at the top of the stairs on the 3rd floor of O'Brien. In front of me lay a pile of shoes, and I could hear laughter as blurry shapes danced in the class. Pangs of fear washed over me as I floated helplessly alone, petrified at the idea of facing another class and finding my way in this totally new place. I had never felt so nauseous before without actually being sick. Desperate for someone to grab my hand and pull me into the world of St. Andrews. Okay, here goes, I thought, kicking off my shoes and stepping inside. The people that greeted me and the experiences we ended up sharing changed my life in more ways than one. Each acting class begins in circle time, a tradition where each member of the class shares their thoughts and feelings, engaging in moments of deep and powerful connection, where the goal is to make yourself vulnerable. My classmates and Mrs. Taylor welcomed me with open arms. They expressed their love and support of me directly, and also by trusting me as they shared their own stories. I heard stories that mirrored my own fears and insecurities. I was listened to and given innumerable guidance about how to navigate St. Andrews and the strange world in which we live. Acting, after all, is built on connection. It is, at its heart, the study of relationships, how we interact with each other and with the world around us. The great acting teachers of history have taught us that focus, energy, emotional awareness, play, and risk-taking are not only fundamentals to acting, but of living. As the class progressed, Nicholas, as you know him today, began to take shape from the anxious, insecure shell of a new sophomore standing in front of the studio door. I learned about focus and channeling energy, physically and emotionally. We practiced making bold choices and taking risks. This was the hard story. It takes enormous bravery to completely turn yourself over to your creative impulses. One day, Mrs. Taylor introduced us to a series of cards which would force us to take these risks, ranging from find a moment to touch, to play with pitch and make eye contact, to the one that scared me most. Do something silly or stupid. How on earth was I supposed to, in the middle of the scene, think of something silly or stupid to do? Let me tell you, the second I saw that red laminated card, my brain would go into overdrive. I would freeze up, and the scene would grind to a halt as I thought desperately of some kind of creative risk to take. Not very productive. Mrs. Taylor would then remind me to stop thinking, to go for something, anything, and to not worry about whatever those around me think. Easy, right? Well, yeah. But by the end of the semester, I actually learned to love doing something silly or stupid. To let myself go, to try something totally new and unexpected. Doing something silly or stupid made scenes so much more authentic, deepening the connections between me and my partners. In fact, some of my most rewarding moments as an actor have come out of doing something silly or stupid. Taking risks in theater is so intensely liberating and gratifying, but most of all, fun. So, in the spirit of fun and taking risks, I am going to take a big one right now and ask you to turn to your neighbor and do or say something silly or stupid. That means you too, just go for it, anything. Just do it, it doesn't matter. Realized that it wasn't as scary as you thought it might be because of who is surrounding you. Most importantly, your community. The experience of making and consuming art is one of the most powerful forces for building a community. Whether watching a production, attending a gallery opening or a concert, or participating in the creative process to make something beautiful, you are forming meaningful connections with other people and the world around you. Through pursuing artistic projects, I've got to know so many amazing students and faculty and engage in the world in such profound ways. As many of you already heard, last year I had the extraordinary privilege of producing and directing a bilingual one-act musical, classic Mexican folk tale. I distinctly remember sitting with Mr. Gold, Mr. Mr. Geierspach, and the rest of the student team. In the recording studio, as we brainstormed ideas for music and choreography to make up the opening number of the show. During this conversation, it struck me. I was in the company of truly brilliant people, experts in what they do, who were giving me their time, energy, and knowledge out of the kindness of their hearts and the simple fact that they find joy collaborating on artistic endeavors. This is a recurring theme in the arts at St. Andrews. My dream of creating podcasts became a reality thanks to the support of Mr. Hoops, who lent me hours of his technical support and mentorship. Whenever I need to design a poster, I know April and Elliot will blow me away with their insane graphic design skills. When Izzy, Gwendolyn, and I wanted to put on Saturday, St. Andrews teamed a Saturday Night Live show to help Steeple Jones with the opportunity to help out. While the visual arts have never been my forte, Miss Kelsey welcomed me into her studio, encouraging me to drop in for a casual conversation or try my hand at still life on Friday afternoon. And finally, what would the Arts Center be without its fabulous guardian, Miss Nola, who smiles and laughter and hugs make everything so much better. So where to now? I've left out one crucial piece, perhaps the most important piece, wisdom from the great acting teachers. To act is to do, not just be. To those of you with more time at St. Andrews, and those of us headed off on new and exciting adventures, take an acting class, a painting class, or sing in a choir. Take a risk and get on stage. Focus deeply on learning an instrument. Pursue a passion project. Use the arts as a way to deepen relationships or make new connections. Find and make art wherever you can. The world is your stage.
Nicholas made me cry. Thank you, Nicholas. That was beautiful. I also think it would be completely remiss of me not to thank all of the artists, actors, singers, dancers, filmmakers, photographers, and instrumentalists who gave so much of themselves to this community over the past 2 weekends. Your work, as always, is inspirational. And I'd really like to thank those of you who had to sign up on reservation lists or just show up and hope there was a seat as we navigated the world of limited seating. There were so many of you who I saw again and again at many different events, and it was heartwarming. And if by chance you didn't happen to attend an event, put it on your St. Andrews bucket list, because you never know what you're going to enjoy, and you are surrounded, just look around you, you are surrounded by some really talented and impressive people with sometimes some highly secret skills. So now on to the awards. The Larry L. Walker Prize for Orchestral Music, awarded to the students who have made outstanding contributions to the orchestra, presented by Instrumental Music Director Fred Geiersbach, to Andrew Park and Edward Hammond Pyle. The Larry L. Walker Prize for Jazz Ensemble, awarded to the students who have made outstanding contributions to the jazz ensemble, presented by Instrumental Music Director Fred Geiersbach, to Jackson Ezekiel Sweats and Lila Forbes Warren. Empire Prize, awarded to the sixth form students who have contributed the most to the success and development of the choral program, presented by Director of Choral and Vocal Music Quinn Corain to Eleanor Calorie Beans, Inua Shen, Gino Mateo Palacios, and Helia Zara Suladi. The Drama Prize, awarded in memory of John Fletcher Hennick Jr., class of 1953, to the students who have made the most significant contribution to the theater program in effort, creativity, and technique, and have shown exceptional artistic growth as an actor. Presented by me to Nicholas Beatty Lampieri and Gino Mateo Palacios. The Hoover C. Sutton Drama Prize, awarded to the students in honor of Hoover C. Sutton, drama teacher at St. Andrew's School from 1980 to 1993, who has shown the greatest contribution to the theater program in technical work. Presented by me to Zaya Marie Williams. The Dance Prize, awarded to the students who have shown exceptional leadership, dedication, and artistry in dance. Presented by Director of Dance Avi Gold to Marvi Ali, Zadok Cooper Bond, Theodore Janot Taylor, Marie Ueda, and Lila Forbes Warren.
Photography Prize, given by the class of 1991 in memory of Carrie J. Atherton, whose love and passion for the arts will always be remembered by her classmates. Awarded to a student of photography who has shown a strong mastery of technical skills and presented a portfolio of creative images. Presented by me to Catherine Baxter Butcher and Elizabeth Mabel Hall. Film Prize, awarded to the students who have shown extraordinary creativity, technical skills, and dedication to the study of the moving picture in all of its forms. Presented by film teacher Peter Hoops to Gwendolyn Lloyd Magni-Bella.
Art Prize, awarded to the students who have contributed the most to the arts program in effort, originality, and technique in various art forms. Presented by painting and drawing teacher Devonta Kelsey to Gino Mateo Palacios, Larry Onwin Phillips, Claire Elon Slinker, and Theodore Janot Taylor. Purchase Prize, awarded to the student who has created an outstanding piece of artwork in either a minor or major classic art course. This work is chosen by the school to enter its permanent collection, presented by painting and drawing teacher Devonta Kelsey to Ashley McKinnon Doucette.
I know I speak for all the faculty in telling all of you how much we love teaching the students of St. Andrews. And this year was a particularly extraordinary year for the teaching faculty in their incredible flexibility and creativity and commitment to the success of all our students, whether the students who study virtually or here on campus. What ultimately emerged was an incredibly strong academic year with tremendous performances by all of you, from the third form, the fourth form, the fifth form, and to our senior years in the classroom for the class of 2021. And so tonight we're really excited to have Wiley and Andrew reflect on their academic career at St. Andrews. And Mrs. Burke will follow with academic work. So welcome to both.
Back in the old days of parent-teacher conferences and non-virtual arts events, I remember my parents telling me the day I went to my sophomore year English teacher, Mr. Spears, in the few minutes I had left to take advantage of the open coffee station in the dining hall. Terrifying enough as Mr. Spears is, more terrifying was the comment he made to my parents. As my parents tell it, he remarked on my willingness to explore an idea out loud in class, even if I didn't quite know yet where I was going with it. At the time, I was mortified. I believed that he had figured me out. It was true. Oftentimes, I didn't quite know exactly what I was talking about or where I was going when I pointed to a moment in the text or even started my sentence. Sometimes I figured it out along the way with a revelation popping in my head as I verbally expressed my thoughts. The pieces sometimes magically floating together in my mind as I spoke them out loud. Yet, most of the time, I relied on Mr. Spears' kind smile, emphatic head nodding, or carefully constructed follow-up questions to illuminate my thinking, ultimately leading the class discussion to some kind of absolute resolution about the facts that we could all grasp onto when it came time to write our papers a few weeks later. Yet, this year in my humanities class, we were introduced to the idea of the threshold of revolution concept imagined by Tony Kushner in his Pulitzer-Prize-winning play, Angels of America. The threshold for revelation is a space where the mind pursues both imagination and knowledge, where the bits and pieces of everything we think we know transform into something completely new and entirely unfamiliar to us. In the play, Kushner uses the example of what happens when we dream. We can't dream up anything new in our imagination. Everything there has already been recycled and reused to create a new reality different from our own. We are constricted by what we already know, as Harper, one of the characters in this particular scene, intuits. Nothing unknown is knowable. Yet, on the very threshold of revelation, it is these new realities that allow us to see things we may not have otherwise. I know that we've all felt that moment at some point in our academic lives at St. Andrews, whether in making an astute point in English class, or finally solving a difficult math problem, or completing a lab that suddenly makes sense, drawing all aspects of the experiment together to identify and explain repercussions in the real life application. The threshold of revelation is both creativity and knowledge. With the tools that my teachers have given me, arranging and rearranging themselves in the form of unobstructed learning. It's the product rule, dimensional analysis, syntax, grammar, conjugations, declensions, even dates regarding World War II and freshman year of U.S. history, and all the nitty-gritty knowledge of learning that St. Andrews has taught me. But it is also the challenging and thrilling process of putting all those pieces together. Academics at St. Andrews have ultimately shown me how to explore the creative, confusing, and terrifying side of learning. Being able to take what I've learned in the classroom and apply it to the larger world outside of campus clarifies for me the essence of the St. Andrews education. Leaning into the gray spaces, complicating initial thoughts, and starting sentences with uncertainty is emblematic of not just academics, but learning in its truest form. Although my 15-year-old self didn't understand Mr. Pierce's remarks that parents' weekend, throughout my journey, the St. Andrews education has allowed me to find encouragement and explore the gray spaces between ideas and constructs, and ultimately, how to live on the threshold. Thank you.
Good evening. It's an honor to be up here tonight speaking on my academic experience at St. Andrews. I want to thank Mrs. Roach for inviting me here to speak tonight. For me, personally, nothing and no one sums up academics at St. Andrews as much as Mrs. Roach and her commitment to learning and education in the academic process. In particular, I think it's her approach to English literature and the exhibition process, everyone's favorite part of English, that's so inspiring. Mrs. Roach was my junior year English teacher and one of my senior year humanities teachers. And I remember her always telling us to draft papers, to keep revising over and over again, and over again, continuing to think about moments that we hadn't yet considered in the text. Though the English exhibition is usually incredibly daunting, Mrs. Roach treated the exhibition process as simply a part of the drafting process. Another opportunity to learn because, quote, the learning never stops. The learning never stops because learning is a constant conversation between yourself and your work, between yourself and your peers, between yourself and your teachers. No matter how you look at it, there are constant opportunities to learn at St. Andrews, and there are constant opportunities to be excited about learning. This idea is the epitome of learning at St. Andrews. And of course, it's not just something that Mrs. Roach emphasizes, it's our entire faculty, it's all the teachers here today. I remember my first ever English class as a tiny 14-year-old where students gathered around our round table would raise their hands, accustomed to the ways of middle school. Mr. Porter, my freshman year English teacher, was adamant that we never raise our hands in this class, and that we never raise our hands to speak ever again. I'm not here as a teacher to call on you, he said. This is a conversation between us all, and I'm just another member of the discussion. And as Virgil, not only does Dr. Walsh have us study Latin with the same excitement, that we approach the literature in English, but he in fact speaks in Latin, a very much dead language. And it goes over my head every single day, but somehow the words tempus est fine facrum, which means it's time to make an end, never seem to excite me anymore. Dr. Walsh ties in the language of antiquity with current events and shows us how Latin is all around us, even though it is very much dead. And it's truly inspiring how he's so excited about Latin all the time. Mr. O'Connell this year took our AS biology class around the beautiful St. Andrews campus that we're so privileged to be on, showing us how the effects of years of evolution are all around us and how each plant and animal responds differently to the changing seasons. Mr. O'Connell referred to the springtime as the harshest time in the world because all the plants are working their hardest to come out of the ground and just strive to be better. And I think that's, in essence, how we feel every single spring, worn out, wrung dry, yet incredibly excited to bloom and blossom and to be better. No matter what subject, no matter what teacher or classmates or classroom or frigid outdoor tent, the one constant at St. Andrews is that the teachers bring a level of commitment to learning that I've never experienced anywhere else. No other place have I been so excited to learn, and no other place have I been able to learn so freely. From the day we walk onto campus, the day we have our first dining hall study hall, to the fantastic senior tutorial program where we further our learning and interest. St. Andrews Academics prepares us, it excites us, it oftentimes challenges us, and in the end, it always shows us that the learning never stops. Thank you.
Thank you, Riley and Andrew, for those reflections. And on behalf of the faculty, we just want to thank all of you seniors for your deep engagement, your love of learning, your excitement about ideas, your curiosity. You've been really fun to teach. The Chester E. Baum Prize for English, given by the members of the English Department in honor of Chester Earl Baum, for 29 years an outstanding teacher of English at St. Andrews School, to the sixth form students who have excelled in English scholarship. Presented by me to Marvi Ali, Eleanor Callery Beans, Madeline Lyman Burkness, Nicholas Beatty Lampietti, and Yihan Shen. Charles H. Welling Jr. Prize for Writing, given by the members of the class of 1945 in honor of their classmate Charlie Welling, writer and raconteur, to the students who have produced exemplary nonfiction writing in all disciplines throughout their careers at St. Andrews. Presented by me to Riley Catherine Baker, Eleanor Callery Beans, Madeline Lyman Burkness, and Ashley McKinnon Doucette. Amanda C. Leon Prize for Creative Writing, given in memory of Amanda C. Leon, class of 95, by her classmates, to the students who have excelled in creative writing. Presented by creative writing teacher Will Torrey to Yinhua Chen, Zaya Marie Williams, and Jingshen Zhuang. Sherman Webb Prize for History, awarded to the students who have done outstanding work in history. Presented by History Department Chair and Dean of Faculty Development Emily Pressman to Eleanor Callery Beans, Sarah Karina Bruno, Elizabeth Hunt Nielsen, Larry Anman Phillips, and Nina Rose Zimmerman. W. Lewis Fleming Prize for French, given by the alumni in memory of W. Lewis Fleming to the students of French who are most deserving in interest, effort, and achievement. Presented by Modern Language Department Chair and French teacher Matthew Westman to Madeline Lyman Bergness and Amelia Maria Campbell. Nancy K. Hargrove Prize for Spanish, given by Joe Hargrove, class of 1967, in memory of his wife, who was a great admirer of St. Andrews. Awarded to the students who have done outstanding work in Spanish. Presented by Spanish teachers Donald Duffy and Viviana Davila to Claudina Valicia Buccini Bonetti, Yinhua Chen, and Nicholas Beatty Lampietti. Chinese Prize, awarded to the students who have done outstanding work in Chinese. Presented by Chinese teacher Jiaqi Chu to Elliot David Thomas Hilton, Miriam Felicity Bomerding, and Nina Rose Zimmerman. Voorhees Prize for Classical Languages, given by his children in memory of their father, G. Ford Voorhees, Latin teacher at St. Andrew's School from 1935 to 1962. Awarded to the students who have done outstanding work in Latin and/or Greek. Presented by Classical Languages Department Chair Dr. Phil Walsh to Marvi Ali, Piper Lee Jackman. Walter L. Harrison Prize for Mathematics, given in memory of his mother by Walter L. Harrison, class of 1966, to a student of high achievement whose work in mathematics is distinguished for its depth of interest, imagination, and creative thinking. Presented by Math Department Chair Harvey Johnson to Yihan Shen. John Anthony Higgins Award for Mathematics, given by members of the Math Department in honor of John Higgins, beloved and legendary math teacher at St. Andrews from 1980 to 2012. Awarded to a student who shares John's joy for learning, who appreciates the beauty, precision, and utility of mathematics, and who seeks to infuse this passion in others. Presented by Math Department Chair Harvey Johnson to Jia Yuan. Each year, the Mathematical Association of America awards the Jane Street Prize to the 5 young women who earned the top score on the American Mathematics competition. The honor includes a certificate and $1,000. Mr. Finch will present the prize to Jia Yuan. Science Prize, awarded to the student of computer science who has demonstrated exceptional skill, understanding, and depth of interest in the field of computer science. Presented by computer science teacher David Myers to Robert Stewart Zerba. William Day Scott Prize for Science, awarded to the student who has taken at least 2 science courses and through performance in these courses has demonstrated real promise in the field of science. Presented by Science Department Chair Ashley Hyde to Larry Anwin Phillips, Yihan Shen, and Theodore Janelle Taylor. William H. Amos Prize for the Life Sciences, given by William H. Amos, member of the faculty from 1947 to 1985, to the students who have demonstrated exceptional interest and ability in the life sciences. Presented by life science teacher Dan O'Connell to Madeline Lyman Berkness and Sarah Karina Bruno. Virginia Layton Orr Prize, in recognition of Virginia Layton Orr's efforts to preserve Cape Hamilton State Park and other natural areas. This award is given to students who have made significant contributions to the environment. Presented by Dean of Student Life and Sustainability, William Robinson, to Piper Lee Jackman, Larry Edwin Phillips, and Edward Hammond Kyle. Walden Pell Prize for Religious Studies, given in honor of Walden Pell, first headmaster of St. Andrew's School, to students of the sixth form whose work in religious studies is distinguished for its understanding of the relationship between faith and learning. Presented by Religious Studies Department Chair Terrence Gilhaney to Nicholas Martin Lilly, Kent Wilkin Peters, Griffin Elizabeth Pitt, and Gianna Ciamaro Rosario. Francis L. Spalding Award, awarded to the fourth form students who have achieved a commendable academic record by distinctive effort. Presented by fourth form academic advisors Viviana Davila and Matthew Edmonds to Ford Chapman and Sarah Rose Odutola. Harry C. Parker Prize, given by Harry M. Parker, class of 1964, in memory of his father, Harry C. Parker, to the sixth formers who have achieved the greatest academic improvement during their St. Andrews career. Presented by sixth form academic advisors Anna Hastings and Mark Hammond to Yash Patel and Zaya Marie Bowden.
So a post-pandemic regeneration process in America would clearly be tied to community service. And not community service as it is practiced most of the time, but community service that is driven by a desire to serve, to learn, to develop, and to transform communities across the country and the nation. And as we learned last night, one of the voices for this movement of the new generation is Mia, and she's going to speak to us tonight about community service in St. Andrews.
Tonight, I would like everyone to see and understand the power of community and community service. So let's agree on a working definition. Community, now. A feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. We have a strong and active student community here at St. Andrews. So raise your hand if you have participated in community service while here at St. Andrews. I know there haven't been that many opportunities to volunteer or participate in community service this year, but how many of you at least value community service? This is great to see. Typically, you would be applauded for the simple act of raising your hand, acknowledging your participation, but I choose not to applaud you for your service, because the act of service is its own reward. Service is a part of who we are as members of the SAS community. It goes hand in hand with values of our families and loved ones instilled in us from a young age. Sharing is caring. Remember that one? Or how well be kind to one another. And don't forget to say please and thank you. These common phrases are evidence of you having basic manners. Or as we would say in my house, it's just evidence that you were raised right. They are also foundational to community life here at SAS. Additionally, social emotional learning in our early years helps us build empathy and character. We were even taught when we view the world to see our neighbors as ourselves. Well, that's what I would like to examine a little further with you this evening. When you decide to become a member of a community, the gift is in the service. Try this little exercise. Make a fist out in front of you, palm side up. Now open your fist. Your palm should be raised to the ceiling. Where's the evidence? And now what you notice, if your hand is open, you both can give and receive. And that's what happens when you join a community. You commune, a verb. Converse or talk together, usually with profound intensity, intimacy, etc. Interchange thoughts and feelings to be in intimate communication forever. Community is a give and a take. And if you see your neighbor as yourself, when you give, you are actually receiving. Here at St. Andrews, we pride ourselves in being students of service and lifelong learners. We are constantly learning. We never stop learning. With that being said, I want to share with you an example of one of my acts of service that has personally benefited me. I have found tremendous strength in personal growth through mentoring. Television personality and philanthropist Oprah Winfrey once said, "A mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself." For as long as I can remember, my character and leadership style have aligned perfectly with this quote. I see greatness in my mentees and constantly express to them how proud I am of them because I know the value of those words hold. Mentoring has been the embodiment of creating space, a small community for sharing between me and my mentee. The success of the mentor-mentee relationship depends on its consistency. I am consistent with my commitment to the lives of my mentees, as I believe in the power of building relationships based on trust. Greeted with a hug when I walked into Silver Lake Elementary School in Middletown, Delaware, I'm reminded of a young girl named Shayla who wanted to be seen. When I first met Shayla, her teacher told me that she was reserved, a common story for most shy girls. Well, over the next few weeks, Shayla opened up to me and began to share her story. Raised by a single mother with multiple sclerosis, she was forced to mature at an early age. Shayla's role as a dependent child evolved to primary caregiver within a few years. She leaned on me for support, while I leaned on her for wisdom. During every visit, I reassured her that there's nothing wrong with being a child, and that her personal circumstances were extraordinary. We strategized on ways she could work on having a typical kid's experience, while still helping her family at home. Shayla opened my eyes to what's possible, no matter what odds are against you. Her gift to me was how her positive attitude can make all the difference. I learned to appreciate the little things I used to take for granted. I, like you, know community service is at the heart of St. Andrews. We have the duty to invest in people and invest in ourselves. I'll echo what visual artist and activist Lil Watson once said. If you have come here to help, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. In a community, we share common attitudes, interests, goals, and I'll add liberation. Her wisdom is simple. If your happiness, freedom, or success depends on me being successful, free, or happy, then we can work together. This is the epitome of a servant leader in community service. I encourage you all today to give yourself a gift of community service. And before I end this speech and get off the stage, I just want to thank Hutch for all of his encouragement and support for me and all of you for keeping the community service program alive. Thank you.
the students that are about to receive this award do not see the pandemic as a time to shrink back from their commitment to the community, but to change and transform and to find new ways to serve. The Diane Miller Community Service Award, named in honor of Diane Miller, exuberant teacher and counselor at St. Andrews from 1984 to 2005, who helped build and develop the community service program, and then by her example dedicated her energies and spirit to the service of others, presented by me to Mia Iman Cross, Hayden Oliver Messina, Elizabeth Hunt Nielsen.
So as I said at the beginning of this evening, the greatest accomplishment that we at St. Andrews made this year was to balance the urgency and crisis of the pandemic with the desire to create student life, academic, artistic, academic community service ethic that would meet the mission and values of the school. In normal times, the creation of those programs is daunting, but very possible. In a pandemic, it requires imagination and creativity and generosity of spirit, and a kind of resilience and grit that allows us to move away from selfish lamentation to the creation of moments of joy and fulfillment of friendship. That's the story we wrote this year. That's the story that has come to this incredible conclusion during the course of the spring term. Near the middle of a great play by Sam Rebecca, called Waiting to Go, two characters look at a startled way at one another and realize that they become magicians. In the most obscure and dark and foreboding of stages ever created in American global theater, Vladimir and Astronaut create community, create friendship, create warmth, create humor, and create meaning. This is the great accomplishment of all of you as students, of this remarkable faculty, of the staff. It's the creation of energy and goodness and grace in the face of a crisis, in the face of obstacles, that now that we've faced them, we're actually easily surmountable. So I'm very happy to have Nina speak about student life tonight, and to be followed by Mr. Robinson. Nina?
We came into this school year after a spring break that almost lasted forever. Locked in our homes and confined to our bedrooms for 6 months, our lives at this school, friendships, and most of our world was taken away from each of us last spring. In isolation, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we gained a deeper gratitude for the life we are able to live at boarding school. Though we arrived on campus at different times this fall, all of us carried the same excitement to be back in this community, reunited with and surrounded by our beloved teachers and friends. While we were prepared for things to be different this year, I don't think any of us were fully prepared for all of the changes we would see in the school. These changes brought new challenges to the social life at St. Andrews. We lost many traditions, a couple sports seasons, the ability to hug one another, they thought, and even lost each other for 3 months this year. If you asked me last year what I thought made student life at St. Andrews special, I probably would have relished in the traditions and the activities that weren't possible this year. We can easily choose to view this year as a year of loss, or we can choose to see what we have found. Without our most cherished activities, when we were stripped of our extremely busy school days and left with only each other in the gates of our rural campus, the beauty and the core of our student body was revealed. That is, our creativity and spirit in the face of any challenge, our communal moments that make each person feel loved and re-energized, and most importantly, our deep friendships and support for one another. I'll remember this year through each place on this campus that supported the lives of our students through this funky outdoor time. What would we have done without the front lawn? When those bright white distant circles slowly faded into green this spring, the chatter, spike ball, poker, games of president, and mini dance parties came alive. I'm not sure any of us will be able to forget the crisscross applesauce position in which we ate our cantaloupe, honeydew, pineapple, and Sunday afternoon ice cream sandwiches this year. Or those moments in the snack tent when deciding whether it was hummus or frosting underneath the ice cream cone. Surrounded by our friends who were taken away from us for so many months, we talked and we laughed, and we sometimes even appreciated our new dining hall, the steps of the garden. We had each other. Though dorm life was certainly different. As we sat in the doorframe of our rooms, trash cans bearing the weight of our heavy doors, masked and chatting with the person sat in the room across from us, we had each other. And when we had more than each other, like maybe some moss brownie sundaes, or Miss Cressman's baked goods, ice cream from Mrs. Carroll, or marshmallows in Mr. Corey's yard, we felt an even deeper sense of gratitude. These were the moments we once took for granted. We had the woods, the pond, and the fields. I've never seen so many muddy, scraped knees on Sunday afternoons after groups of people battled to walk around the pond, or the sore palms of people who visited the rope swing, or the zip line, shout out to Jacob. I've never seen such long lines of people waiting for a canoe, or fish as big as Jelly and Rocco occasionally would catch. Then we had areas that gained a different purpose and new meaning for us this year. Special areas like the Garth, which supported our silent disco, the dance that Swag spent months pestering Mr. Rarick about. The Garth held our open mic nights, where we came together to appreciate one another's voices, or the talents that folks had learned in quarantine. I will never forget the moment when we first hugged each other, singing our senior song, feeling a sense of normal for one night. The Garth, which held Izzy, Nicholas Flint, and the sketch comedies, hilarious show, one of the coolest things to ever go down in St. Andrews history. In those white plastic chairs, illuminated by only fairy lights, we felt warm with love for this community. We had each other. That field, which was once just a baseball field, became grassy volleyball courts and held our passionate volleyball games in the fall. Or the sidelines of the tennis courts, soccer, or lacrosse fields, where we sat with huge smiles, thinking about how grateful we were to finally have something to do, a team to support on a Saturday afternoon. Even the weight room, where Bomb Fitness blasts house music and attempted to get on Mark Dar's level. The backyard, or the triangle behind KLM and the new Ball Central, shout out to the new Ball Central, where our Sunday tanning sessions became a new tradition. Even those moments in a blowing over tent before class starts. I'll never forget the tropical storms that Miss Mulhern and my history class faced this fall, where we bonded over the near freezing temperature as we continued to learn about Adam Smith. Yes, we dealt with challenging circumstances. A lot of normal was taken away from us in this last school year. But confined to these outdoor spaces, we made new memories, new traditions, and a new normal, all of which wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have each other. This year, we learned that student life at St. Andrews isn't about the Frosty Run or the Carol Shop. What makes the student body Special is our deep and meaningful friendships, our ability to support each other, come together to feel the love and the beauty in our community, even in a new circumstance or setting. It is our profound ability to laugh through frustrating rules and find joy in eating dinner on muddy grass. We didn't lose anything this year. We gained each other and our community back, an opportunity that many high school students didn't have. We gained a deeper gratitude and love for one another, a new creativity and spirit, a drive to keep going, keep laughing, keep having fun in what some might think of as imprisonment. At the end of the day, we had each other, and this creativity was only possible because of the unbounded love and support we have for one another. So let us not relish in the loss and the change and the different, but instead celebrate our new memories on this campus, new traditions, new dining hall, new volleyball courts, new Engelhard, and most importantly, our love for each other and deep friendships that make student life at St. Andrews so special.
Thank you so much. Thank you to class of 2021 for making that talk possible. Could have gone a lot of different directions this year, and you guys really stepped up. And I really appreciate it. It was awesome. Last night, as I was getting into my tent, it felt the hard part of the ground. Thinking, what am I doing here? I heard many of you singing around the campfire. And I fell asleep. It was awesome. It was also because it was nice to fall asleep. It was also nice to know that I could fall asleep. So thank you all for that as well. Underperformers, how are you doing? Doing okay? The Calder Prize, given in honor of Dr. Joseph R. Calder and Virginia Calder, and awarded to the third form students who combine the qualities of good scholarship and a commitment to the service of others. Presented by third form academic advisors Megan Mulhern and Chris Sanchez, to Aquila Bokia Romeo and Zachary G. Academic. J. Thompson Brown Award, given to the students below the sixth form who have made the greatest contributions to community life. Presented by their advisors Brendan Daly and Stacy Craig, to Jake Thomas Kelly and Anye Janaya Romeo. Malcolm Ford Award, in memory of Malcolm Ford, given to the students below the sixth form who best combine the qualities of leadership, good sportsmanship, and a cheerful spirit, presented by their advisors Chachi Chu and Terrell Myers, to Bridget Allegra Schutz and Brandon I. Raves. Stegman Jr., given in honor of Bob Stegman, inspirational history teacher, academic dean, assistant head, and dean of faculty at St. Andrews from 1978 to 1999. Awarded to the fifth form students in the top academic ranks of the class who have demonstrated intellectual leadership and who have made exceptional contributions to the life of the school and community. Presented by their advisors Emily Pressman and Matt Carroll, to Jiayi Yuan and John Hunter Melton.
The energy to my left, class of 2022 is here. So that energy will pick up a little bit more as I welcome our wonderful co-presidents of the school, Nick Lilly and Jill Tora, to the podium for the metaphorical and literal transfer of leadership from the class to so thank you, Jill. Please come up with all of our love gratitude and all of the
So we would like to invite Anya Romeo and Amber.
And we couldn't be happier to have you two up on stage here with us. You guys have been leaders since you stepped foot on campus, and we've had personal connections with the two of you, so we're so grateful and so happy to pass our leadership role down to you two.
Liam and I would just like to say thank you to the class of 2021 and to Jill and Nick. To Jill and Nick, we want to thank you for supporting this whole community in games and performances and anything we decide to do here. You've taught us that as presidents, our job is not only to work, but to sit, watch, and appreciate the work that this community has done for us, and we thank you for that.
We would also like to thank the entire class of 2021. Throughout this unprecedented year, you guys have been throughout this community, virtually and on campus, and in the classrooms, on sports fields, on dorm. You guys really showed us what it means to be St. Andrews. On behalf of the class of 2022, we want to thank you guys for being inspired leaders ever since the first day we stepped foot on campus. Being class ahead of us, we really look up to you guys and do our best to next year as seniors. And on behalf of all the young folks, we just want to thank you guys for an awesome year. You guys brought your energy and passion to every aspect of school, and your memory it won't soon be forgotten. So thank you guys.
perspective, we will have the pleasure of speaking with farewell to the sixth form, which Kate and Elizabeth